This news update is brought to you by the Behudi Ministry of State, Department of Communication. With so many humans around the world now itching to shed the crust of tyranny, and generations of alert and intelligent young people waking up across all continents, we intend to bring you coverage of these events in summary each week with a segment we call
Global Government Rehabilitation. Egypt.
Now that Mubarak is out of the way, the army is in charge, and that just means nothing has changed. The people there still have time to lock it in if the army doesn't squash them. Again.
Tunisia.
This is where the Jasmine Revolution started, and because it's their national flower, Ben Ali went bin bye-bye. The government has been purged, and now the two parties are fighting it out, with one party threatening to be disbanded, and some say this is where the greater Arab Revolution started as well.
Lebanon.
Everyone in the government quit when one of the group's guys wanted to punish this other group of guys for killing the prime minister. Does that make sense? I don't know. Well, it turns out the guys who allegedly killed the prime minister are now in charge. Or something like that.
Libya.
The general and his son are talking a lot of smack, both to the people and to the rest of the world. This is nothing new for Gaddafi, but with rehabilitation happening all around him, he may be too old to fight it off this time, just ask Mubarak. The military is on their side for now, and the military, as we've seen, only usually fires on its own people for a very short time. Then something changes.
Yemen.
Just as before, the people are demanding that the president leave. They want to hold new, free elections. They're marching into squares and government buildings. And just as before, the people have beaten much ass, bashed much skull. And just as before, the people in power have refused to budge, calling the uprising an infectious virus.
Rehabilitation.
Oh wait, what, you couldn't pronounce it? It's Bahrain. The royal family this time unleashing mass destruction on protesters, just like in Libya. The army was ordered to fire on civilians. People were just mad at first. They wanted to have a bigger part in the way stuff was run, and now they want to see an end to the monarchy altogether. Way to go, guys.
Palestine.
With their very own day of rage planned, and the U.S. refusing to even talk about being mean to the occupation forces, these people have more right to be pissed off than anyone, and they've got lots of help now, as if they ever felt alone in the rage and torment section of the region. Now there's lots of people to damn.
Albania.
In the midst of yet another government upheaval, some Albanians are celebrating the fall of communism 20 years ago and the success of the current government since then, while others are busy protesting that very same government, trying to prosecute members of the ruling party. All the while over, the country has been struggling to gain entry into the European Union. Good luck, guys.
Algeria.
Algeria is bordered in the northeast by Tunisia, in the east by Libya, and in the west by Morocco, so you can see how things might get mixed up in the just the region there. But things are not so bad there. The government says it's planning to lift the 19-year-long state of emergency and get back to what it does best, produce oil.
Morocco.
Next door in Morocco, anti-government activists march to demand political reforms, limiting the power of King Mohammed, similar to protests elsewhere in the Arab world. Organizers said they want democratic reforms to a constitution that gives King Mohammed sweeping powers, including the right to appoint the prime minister.
Saudi Arabia.
Where King Abdullah is genuinely liked by most of the country, and the government is protected by strict moral codes which keep most dissent under wraps. After recovering from back surgery, the king comes back to a much angrier region and a grumbling populace. So far, he's tried pouring money on it, like billions on it, and we shall see if that works. It may take more than mere billions to quiet this rebellion.
China.
There will be no revolution here.
Wisconsin.
With the battle Over the budget in the Midwest state of Wisconsin entering its second week, no end in sight, the governor there is refusing to negotiate on legislation that would end collective bargaining rights for public sector employees. His proposed $137 million budget repair bill also calls for increased employee contributions to pension and health care benefits. Similar battles may be coming to other states. Stay tuned for more from BTV and
Government rehabilitation.
Jay Carney, the new White House press secretary, said, quote, "There have been contingency plans for government shutdowns since 1980, and those plans are obviously updated accordingly, but they've been around for a long time." End quote. Now, why would he say such a thing? Well, that's because the White House and the Congress cannot agree on anything, cannot get anything done, and this also happens to mean that funding to operate the government through the end of 2011 might just run out. If they don't come to an agreement, that is, or pass a short-term resolution to temporarily continue funding the government by the March 4th deadline, or the federal government will begin to shut down. According to federal law, any employees that work through a shutdown have to be engaged in either law enforcement, military duties, or providing some other similar critical emergency service. Other than that, it would mean spawning a separate funding bill to pay for anything else. We will be very interested to see what happens in this situation over the next week. Stay tuned. France's Minister of Agriculture, Bruno Le Maire, said that the risk of food riots in the world is a real one because of the increase in global food prices. Speaking to journalists at the UN headquarters following a meeting with Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the General Assembly, he introduced his country's proposals for fighting against the volatility of agricultural prices. He also said that General Assembly representatives were convinced of the need to provide specific solutions to this problem in order to prevent food riots and to fight against the problem of hunger in the world. Le Maire said that besides proposing to relaunch investment in global agriculture, it was crucial to provide more specific assistance to the development of agriculture in the most underprivileged countries on the planet. He also said that the second line of discussion was about the transparency of global food stocks, adding that there was no reliable data on the reality of global food stocks. Le Maire said that France wanted to set up a statistical mechanism which would make it possible to have better information on the reality of stocks and also have an exchange of information among the major producing countries on global stocks, namely grains. The Economic and Social Council held a meeting to debate the causes and policy solutions to the current rise of global food prices.
Much has changed since 2008, the year of the last global food crisis, and yet at the same time, much seems to be so familiar. In 2008, food riots erupted in 30 countries. In 2011, rising food prices combined with rising unemployment have also sparked riots and political unrest.
Agriculture has always been susceptible to supply-side shocks caused by climatic conditions. But we're seeing a different situation now, and perhaps this explains some of the more recurrent episodes of price volatility, is that the demand for agricultural crops is on a strong upward trend, as we've heard, as a result of income growth, as a result of consumption patterns changing, and as a result of the use of food crops in biofuel production.
World food prices surged to a new historic peak in January for the 7th consecutive month, according to the updated FAO Food Price Index, a commodity basket that regularly tracks monthly changes in global food prices. The FAO Cereal Price Index averaged 245 points in January, up 3% from December, and the highest since July 2008, but still 11% below its peak in April 2008. The increase in January mostly reflected continuing increases in international prices of wheat and maize amid tightening supplies, while rice prices fell slightly as the timing coincides with the harvesting of main crops in major exporting countries. As always, visit us online at bahudi.net for updates and more.